Alrighty, welcome to a special college football playoff edition. Douglas, how are you doing right now?
Great. Number one.
Salty. I'm still salty. As a wise man once said about this college football, it's always fun, but it would be better if our Ohio State quarterback was actually better.
Well, you'll have a new quarterback next year.
Yes. And as a wise podcaster once said, I hope that quarterback has a fun college year because that's the best he's probably going to ever have. He picked too early.
Yeah, he might have. I guess time will tell, Stu. Time will tell.
But anyway, I guess we should talk about, since we're going to discuss the greatness of our 40 of our theoretical 32 team playoff right now. So like I said, as of right now, there's 4 teams right now. And next year there's going to be 12 teams. But as a tradition with me and Doug, even though everyone makes fun of me for having this, I always want a 32 team playoff in college football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think in reality it's a good idea, but for a YouTube video, I'm here for it.
Hey, I do agree with that.
I mean, if we're being realistic, like some of the matchups that we'll talk about here today are going to be pretty rough to watch. Like we're going to probably have some Georgias versus, I don't know, Toledo's. And so that
Wait a
might be
minute.
a little excessive, but I'm happy to talk about it and set these rankings with you today, Stu.
How dare you be mean to the great college football of Toledo football?
See, that's the thing. I respect Toledo. My sister is a Toledo alum, Stu. I love Toledo. I just know that if they played against Georgia, it would not be a very entertaining football game.
No, I think it would be very entertaining for making fun of football games. But
Well, yeah, as someone that likes to troll like yourself, it'd be a good time.
yes.
All right, here's a question for you, Stu. Would the game be closer than Georgia versus TCU in the championship last year?
Oh, well, that's a good question. And I will honestly be okay. And we're gonna flip this around. I should do a double flip on you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would probably be the similar points, but I don't think it would be close. And let's flip it. I'm gonna do a reversal. I'm gonna be like my joke is I'm gonna be like a politician. Reverse the question on back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Would TCU last year in a theoretical 32 team playoff make it to the Final Four? I'm gonna say no.
No, they wouldn't have. I mean, they obviously beat Michigan. I was at that game. It was a fun game. Like it was so back and forth. I think if they played 10 times, Michigan wins probably 8 of them. Like that was just like a perfect storm of bad plays. TCU tricked them. It was some weird calls. Won't get into it. No, they would not make the top 4 if it was redone.
Yes. So, but I guess before we talk about our fantasy of the 32 team playoff, I guess we got to talk about reality and we got to talk about the 4 teams. I know it's been like a couple weeks. Let it sink in. What is your thoughts on these 4 teams in the playoffs? I know you're happy that Michigan won it, and
Mm-hmm.
it pains me for right now, but I think they deserve it. I think
Yeah,
Washington
I
deserves it.
mean, I was gonna say, I mean, I think it's a hard one because I mean, obviously, I'm glad with the rankings. I mean, Michigan, if you just like look at the body of work plus what they have done these last few years. Granted, it's only based on this season, but obviously biased fan here. But I think that they're number one. I've been saying since like September that they're the best team in the country, but again, we see where my head's at. Um,
Boo. That's what I gotta say.
like,
Boo.
well, like, so I can do a quick breakdown. Like Michigan, I think that they're the best, most well-rounded team. Like I think that they have enough offensive skill. Their defense is probably the best in the country, if not top 3 or 4. JJ McCarthy has a year more of experience. Like they have a great offensive line, 2 great running backs, just solid team, top to bottom. And I would say for the first 10 weeks of the year, their games weren't even close.
Mhm.
Like, we got some close ones there later in the season, a close one against Maryland, a close one against Ohio State. But, then they got right back to work against Iowa. So,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on Michigan's too?
they look good, and I hate it, but they look really good. Honestly, I feel like this is definitely you have to win this one this year. This is national champ or bust. If you lose this one, I don't know when the next time you're going to get it because I do feel like this is going to be. I think a lot of your teams are going to lose. I think JJ is going to be gone, probably
But they
going to
might get that Dante, I can't think of his name, from UCLA. Oh,
Yeah, that's true. And
I
though
mean,
also
go ahead.
I'll say as an Ohio State, we could get that Washington State quarterback.
You might. So that's what's so fun about the transfer portal is we can't even project rosters right now with signing classes, transfer portals. All of these teams will look completely different next year. I think Texas and Alabama, though, if they don't win it this year, they both have their quarterbacks coming back next year. Or Michigan and Washington, this is probably their best chances.
I will say, and plus we got Archie Manning as our backup right now, and it looks like he's going to be good right now. Like I
Mm-hmm. There's a lot to be excited in Texas, but let's go to Washington first. Let's go down the order, then we'll get to Texas.
Okay,
What do you think about Washington, Stu?
they've been pretty good. Honestly, I would say out of the four, and this is like my opinion, I think Washington had the toughest schedule, but like made it all the way and being like the 12-0. Where
Yeah.
yes, Michigan is probably better in the rankings, but I feel like the only tough opponents that Michigan ever had was Penn State, Ohio State, and maybe I'll put in Iowa. Like I'm just like glancing in there, and I don't even think Iowa's that great. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Washington, they got to play against Oregon. They had like a ton of one. I even say Washington State, even though they're not like super high on that one with that elite quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. I think they had the hardest schedule, no doubt. Like, every week, I swear they were playing a ranked team. And while they didn't look dominant, they are 13-0, won the Pac 12 championship. They were huge underdogs to Oregon, which didn't make sense to me. They had already beaten Oregon. And then they had to beat them again. Do you know how hard it is to beat the same team twice? Michael Penix, their quarterback, incredible.
Mhm.
And that receiver that they have, they're a scary team. Like, I think I would pick them over Texas, and like that. I mean, I know Texas is favored,
Oh,
but like, I feel like Washington's that team that they just know how to win. Like, it might
mhm.
not be pretty, but they're winners.
So I guess next we got to talk about my Longhorn alumni. It's been a long darn time since 2010 when they played
Mm-hmm.
against Alabama, and it was the McCoy eras of quarterbacks. So
Yeah.
so it's been since a McCoy has been a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this as a Longhorns fan, it's been a really trying time. I mean, we literally since Mac Brown era, and I liked Mac Brown as a head coach, but like I said, I feel like he had too much of a love affair with the McCoys. It was Colt McCoy, Brandon McCoy, any cousins that are McCoys. We need to have them. We need to have them as a quarterback. And then, I mean, it sucked with the Charlie Strong era. I mean, that was an absolute tire fire. Like that was like the lowest low point.
Mm-hmm.
But and then, oh God, I even forgot about the last coach before he got fired. Oh God, do you remember the coach's name? I don't think he
I
was
don't
that.
remember. I don't remember his name. I mean, I remember the scandal with Ohio State and all that stuff, but I don't remember the dude's name.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like he was kind of a meh. But then we
Yeah.
got the current coach, and I'm loving him. I think he's honestly made the Texas football program really good. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited. I didn't expect us to make it to the national championship, but
Yeah. Semifinal.
I'm sorry, semifinal, but that's okay. Playoffs, I should say. Playoffs, Douglas.
Playoffs.
We got to talk about the playoffs of the Longhorns. And we got, like I said, a couple years ago, when we got the number one recruit quarterback out of Texas. I felt very promising on this one, and I feel like now. I mean, it sunk last year because he got injured. He got out for the year, and I feel like that's why we kind of suffered. But I
Mhm.
feel like now we're probably showing what we can do right now.
All right, Stu, serious question here for you. Who do you take at quarterback, Quinn Ewers or JJ McCarthy? Like if you had to start a program around one, we're not talking about obviously one, but like who do you think's the true better quarterback?
That's a tough one because I kind of feel like they're both good. Maybe
Yeah.
if I, maybe I would say okay, okay, and this is more okay, maybe less bias. Okay, or maybe my bias is coming in. I think I would try to take the Texas quarterback just because he's battle tested. They're both battle tested, but I feel like the Texas. I always say it like who had the more harder schedule to get into this. I would say Washington's number one. Texas is probably number two. I would probably still put Michigan because they still had to play against a tough, like a conference, and then Alabama kind of snuck in there. I would probably put Bama up there. Like
Yeah, yeah,
who had the hardest road to get here?
for sure. I mean, I obviously I'm gonna take JJ. I've been saying I think JJ is so underrated. Like the dude completes like 80+% of his throws. Like he hasn't even been healthy this year, and he's just balled out. Like I think he has like 20 plus touchdowns, 4 interceptions. They both have similar numbers, but JJ completes a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I mean, I obviously I'm biased towards JJ, so I think it's a good debate. I think I could see the case for either.
Like I said, I'm biased with my mullet man, Quinn Ewers. I'm
Cool.
and like I said, he did cut his mullet, so now he doesn't look like a Civil War soldier. Now he looks like
Yeah.
a decent. Now we
Well,
gotta talk. I guess we gotta talk about the controversy. And let's be honest,
yeah,
there's all controversy right now.
there
They
is. I
beat
mean,
Alabama before Florida State. Of 13, was it 12 and 1 Alabama over a 13 and 0 Florida State right now, who's
yeah,
undefeated.
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts? Okay, trying to put the
I do.
bias on you. Do you think Alabama should have been here or not?
No,
No.
I I remember watching them, whatever it was, 3, 4 weeks ago against Auburn, looking terrible and needing an absolute miracle on 4th and 31 to beat an Auburn team that got destroyed by New Mexico State. That was enough for me. Like you, literally the same field that New Mexico State beat Auburn by 21. Alabama needed a ridiculous miracle just to win that game. That's enough for me. Where I'm like, Florida State. I mean, they're 13-0. They did everything that they needed to do. They beat LSU. Like, I don't really know what else they could have done. Like their quarterback wasn't there, but they still beat a ranked Louisville team. They have a dominant defense. They have as good of a defense, other than maybe Michigan, as probably anybody in there. Maybe even as good as Michigan's. Like
Yeah.
I think it's just SEC bias. I mean,
And also I feel like there's maybe that bias of like, wow, they lost a quarterback, so they're gonna get killed by Michigan. I'd rather
well,
have
and
a
that's
good.
all it was because it's like you can't reasonably tell me that the SEC was as good as it's always been. Like Georgia looked really bad at times this year, granted earlier in the season, and then they lost to Alabama. Like they SEC had a losing record versus other conferences this year. So it's not like they were going out and destroying the whole thing, and then you can't just say that the SEC is the best this year because the SEC wasn't the best. So like, how you can tell me that Alabama can go from what were they eighth? They go from eighth and they jump the team that was at 4 the week before.
Yeah.
That team won. Like it's not. I don't know. Like it reeks of bias. Like I
Yeah.
understand why the state of Florida is suing.
Yeah. I mean, okay, and this is why I always say this. I as much as I love college football, and you love college football, Douglas,
I do.
I hate the NCAA football way where they done it. I don't like
Yep.
the college. I don't like the four-way playoffs. It's always been not. It's always been bad. I've
Mhm.
always felt like that this has not been the best in all of this. I've hated this. I hated even when in my childhood when we had to deal with the BCS, and I feel like
Mhm.
it's like I mean, hell, even my dad's generation, where
Mhm.
it was like the coaches poll and the AP poll, and if it wasn't like they're both number one, they both got the national championship, and it was just like,
The fact that Michigan shares their 97 title is atrocious.
yeah, it's like, in my opinion, like I feel like it's the in my it's actually interesting. So I was listening to Strong Opinion Sports when he talked about this, and he always said, could we make an exception this year and put in the number 5 and number 6 in there? Just make an exception.
It'd be fun. Like, I mean, maybe, maybe still your 32 team playoff is what college football needs. Is it
Yes.
just like, I mean, this year especially, like, they'd be so nice if there's a 12 team playoff this year. Oh my goodness. Like, because I mean, Georgia could easily three-peat. Florida State should have been in this top four. Ohio State still has one of the best rosters in the country.
I mean, it would be
Oregon
interesting.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you got 8 legitimate teams that I would not want to play that I think could beat any of the other teams. And that's not even including Penn State. That's not even including some of these other teams that were really good this year. So
Yeah.
I don't like it. So like that being said, at least for me, I think just out of respect, I think Florida State should be at 5 in this ranking.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I do agree. And I will always say this. I think when we get to next year and we're going to do when we're going to have the legitimate 12 team playoff,
Hmm.
I think at this point, if you're 13, I don't think you should ever complain. I
Yeah.
think we should never complain. It's like I mean, let's be honest. Do people complain in March Madness like, "Oh, I should have been the 69th team or the 65th team. Why did you kick me out of the March Madness tournament?" I'm like, you would have gotten killed
Hmm.
by Virginia or like Duke. Let's be honest. Like, you're not making it far.
Yes. Somebody's always mad. Somebody's always mad.
Yeah, let's be honest. Like,
Um,
it's not good. But I do say out of respect, and I do agree. So, I guess we should probably start with we got to talk about the rules of our
mhm.
32 team tournament. So I think we're going to make it fair as always for this year. The top 4 will stay the top 4. They are not
Mhm.
going to get bumped out no matter how I feel. Granted, I don't like that Alabama is that number 4, but as respect to the
Yeah.
32 tournaments, even though this is definitely theoretical and this is arbitrary.
Well, also saying like even as a Michigan fan, like it truly doesn't matter that much to me. Like I think Michigan's a better team than Alabama. So like I mean I'm happy to hopefully beat Alabama. Like I don't want it to be like this notion that Michigan's scared of Alabama. Because like Alabama, they have an amazing roster and they're incredible in some ways. It's more about who, in my opinion, should have been there. Like you
Mhm.
can't look at the entire body of work and say that Alabama's better. Like Alabama should have lost multiple games.
I mean, I do agree they should have lost to that Auburn game. If Auburn did something right, if they would have had a defense
They just
on
need
a
one more play.
4th and 31.
Hmm. That's Florida State's whole season went down and apparently in Auburn.
Yes, I will
What
say
a
that
shame.
that is what is more worse, Douglas. Before we start this, the
Hmm.
fake punt, the myth punt in 2015 with Michigan State,
Hmm.
Auburn choking on the 4th and 31. What
Well,
is
I mean,
the
or we could do the picks or the kick six or whatever too.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the kick six might be a good one. I would
for that.
always. Oh
Well, I mean, like straight, like which one do I think like stunk the worst?
yes,
I would probably say
I'm going the
like the
4th.
Alabama one over Auburn, where the
Yes.
kick six, like because I think Alabama probably would have won the national title that year. Like I don't remember the exact circumstances, but like I think it basically kicked Alabama out of a chance at a national title.
Mm,
And like granted, Michigan might have made the top 4 that year, but like they weren't realistically going to. So like while that place sucked as a Michigan fan on a college football landscape, I think This Auburn one was right up there too, though, especially if Alabama goes on and wins the national title.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's one of those two. It just depends on which one and what the outcome of this playoff is.
Oh, I got another good one. What about the Miami? Like, instead of taking the knee, they ran the ball and fumbled it. If you
See,
remember that.
that one was bizarre too. Like, if Miami was a little bit better and like higher in these rankings, then it might mean more. Like, I think it stings for the fans, but like as the landscape of college football, it's kind of a meaningless game for like Miami, who lost a lot of games this year. So like that's where I look at it, at least. What had the biggest like impact on the entirety of college football? And that Auburn play literally affected potentially 3 teams, because who's to say that if Alabama loses to Auburn, who's to say that they still don't put Georgia in at number 4?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's to say Georgia doesn't still somehow sneak in there? Like, they have such an SEC bias, then they would probably make an argument that a 2-loss Alabama should have been in over a 13. I don't know. Just jumping down holes because it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's just the frustrating part. But anyway, I guess we'll start out with the first. Like I said, so the 2 rules is the top 4 has to stay the top 4. We disagree with Alabama putting in there, but they're staying in the top 4. That's rule number 1.
Yeah.
Rule number 2, if you win your conference, we're going to do the same rules as college basketball. You are automatically in. So Sunbelt schools, Mackey schools, Miami of Ohio, you're going to be in this tournament, even though you'll probably get your edge.
Hey, that's okay. That's why it's so fun.
Now, this is going to be the fun part.
All these small teams get a chance, and I think the part that's going to, like, where you might get arguments in the style of a format is kind of like how we talk about in the NFL with, like, the NFC South, where it's like really one of these teams get to play in this and, like, a 10-2 Iowa team doesn't or something. But them's the rules, You win your conference, you get in.
Yes, you get in. And like I said, you win your conference, you get in. And I guess the last thing is to have fun. And we're about to do some tournaments. So
Let's do it.
So we're also using, because I'm a little bit biased, I was going to use the ESPN, the AP poll, the college playoff poll right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's high-end video we are doing. I unfortunately cannot find the college football playoff poll, but like I said, because I know how to do, because apparently this high quality of production right now, we know what we're supposed to do. But anyway, so I got on my phone, so I have the college. How dare you sneeze? You do not need to sneeze on this podcast.
All right. Well, let's knock into this. Let's get some rankings going, Stu. I'm ready.
All right. Like I said, we're using the college. So, like I said, the 3 things: college football playoff rankings, the AP top 25, and the coaches poll. Basically, those are the food. We're just gonna go with there. So let's start with who do you think is gonna be the number 5? I mean, it's gonna be pretty decent one. I think. Let's just pick Florida State. Let's just end this. Let's just end that.
I was gonna say, I already made my case. Florida State. You should have been at 4. You can. Am I supposed to be typing this? I'll type it. Florida State.
Which are the ACC champions right here.
The ACC champs. Undefeated. Don't make the playoff.
Yeah, no, this would be interesting. I guess we'll see when we get to, like I said, next week. I will say, gentlemen, and maybe the 2 ladies that are going to be joining the stream, the 5 people that are caring about this. We're also going to do the brackets and seeing which one will win in a theoretical tournament. Will we have any upsets, or do you think there's going to be any teams that's not going to be there in there?
Yeah, we'll do something really fun with it too. We'll have fun with this one. So
yes.
Right. So let's see here. So that's an easy 5. Now it starts to already get interesting for me at 6.
Yes.
I do say I think well, maybe not that interesting. I think Georgia has to stay at 6. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing that's really like changing anything. I still think Georgia's pretty much like, I mean, granted, And I got to say one thing. I had one rule, Georgia. You had to beat Bama, and we wouldn't have to deal with this. If they beat Bama, we wouldn't have to deal with it.
Like, if they beat Bama, who gets in over Texas and FSU?
I think honestly, that's a good question. Would they just let the top 4? That's a good question.
I think somehow in that scenario, I think Florida State would have made it over Texas.
Yeah.
Like, oddly enough, Alabama beating Georgia also was a really big win for Texas jumping.
Because I remember at the time when we were talking about this, it was like, do you let Texas in or do you let Alabama in? If it was one of those, and I would have probably said let Texas win because they beat Bama. And I think it's unfair. I think, in my opinion, if they didn't let them in, but granted, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Because I feel like, both of those two teams was like high-end, like talent teams. It wasn't like, that one year when Ohio State lost to like Virginia that one time and then but won out the rest of their games, and that team was not even like good enough, but that was like week 1 still.
Yeah, for sure.
But we're now going to talk about the number 7 spot.
And this another one that feels really straightforward. There's one more one-loss team here. It's got to be Ohio State.
Yeah, we got to put the Ohio State right there at number 7 right now.
I'm also going to rate the conferences, so that way we can kind of do like a little conference tally and see which conference has the most bids. And I don't know. I enjoy to compare conferences. So right now we have 2 SEC, 2 Big Ten, and then the other Power 5 are all represented.
Now, could we make it even better? We just call this the how to spell lose. Losers.
If you want to put loser, I just want to keep track that they're an at-large. They did not win their conference.
Or I'll just
put what should we put then here? Big Ten losers?
No, we just put them at large.
Oh. All right. We don't want to call Ohio State losers.
No, we do not call Ohio State losers. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because they made it at large. I guess we'll do the conference as a at large, since Georgia did lose. They did lose the conference on that one. We'll call it the at.
It seems biased, but I'm not going to fight it that hard. Fair enough.
That's fine.
Number 8, I think this one again feels straightforward to me. I mean, I think Oregon. I mean, their only 2 losses of the season are to the number 2 team. Both of them by like 3 points, I think, or something.
Yeah.
I feel like Oregon just unfortunately had an Achilles heel. Washington.
Yeah, unfortunately they got that. We should just can we just say Pac-12 double loss at loss?
Pac-12 double L.
Double L just because they lost to Oregon. Unfortunately, Duckies, quack quack. Unfortunately, Washington came to eat your lunch right now. Now we're gonna get to the easy part. So this is the fun part. So I think this is when we're gonna get to the interesting part, because we have now number 9. Oh, actually, I don't know if this is gonna be. I think at 9, all 3 of them put Missouri in 8-2, and I feel like we can keep Missouri on there.
No,
I think that's fair.
I don't like Missouri.
You don't like Missouri?
Let me look at their games, because this is where I was going to make the case that Penn State should jump them. Because who did Missouri lose to?
So as of right now, I'm looking at they lost to LSU, who I don't think they were ranked anymore. They lost Georgia by 9, and then that's the only 2 losses. So they only have 2 losses right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think that if Missouri played Penn State, I think Penn State would beat them. Like, Missouri barely beat Middle Tennessee State. Like, they barely beat Memphis. Like, they did. I mean, they looked good against Tennessee, which okay, but like, is Tennessee all that great? Like, Tennessee lost a lot of games. They barely snuck by Florida. It's like, I don't know. Penn State like destroyed everyone not named Michigan or Ohio State.
Yeah, but let me look. So did they lose? I think they lost. So for Penn State, and granted, this is interesting because they're now back to the 10. They only lost to Ohio State by 8, and then they
Mhm.
lost to Michigan by they did lost to Michigan by 9. So it's
Yeah.
only been that's the only 2 losses. Oh, this is a good question.
But they had 3 shutout wins.
But
Like,
to be fair, I don't feel like Missouri had a much more tougher schedule. Like Penn State, okay, no offense. Okay, I'm gonna be offense. West Virginia team that's not good. Delaware,
mhm.
Illinois, not good. They did shut out Iowa, but I don't even think Iowa is that good, to be honest with you, Douglas.
No, but
North,
like who reasonably are we impressed with Missouri beating? Like, who are
uh,
you looking at me and saying, "Wow, that's a good win for Missouri"? Because I'm
I
not seeing it. I'm not seeing
maybe
anything on here that I'm like, "Wow, that's a high quality win."
maybe LSU.
They
No,
lost to LSU,
sorry, they lost to LSU. Yeah,
so they
forget about.
played a good team and they lost. Wow, congrats! You played, you know, like Tennessee's not good. Like, who did Missouri play that was so impressive?
Kansas
Like,
State.
like this is where the SEC bias starts to come into play to me. As I'm like looking through these games, and I'm like, you didn't look that good against a down like the Georgia loss looked impressive, if you will, but then Alabama just beat Georgia.
Yeah,
Georgia was close in a ton of games this year. Like Georgia wasn't Georgia of the last 2 years.
this is a good
I don't
question.
know. I mean, if these two teams played, I mean, I would take Penn State in a heartbeat and not look back.
This is a good one. I feel like we got to do a coin flip. I feel like both. Like I feel like I might be. I mean, I feel like we got okay. We got to make it fair. Let's just make it since this is a theoretical. I'm
Mm-hmm.
staying with Missouri at 9. You're staying at Penn State at 10.
Yep.
Let's coin flip. Let's just
Love
do
it.
it. Let's just
Love
make
it.
flip right now. So as of right now, we got a heads. I just want to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like heads.
Yep.
If we have a deadlock, we're gonna make it heads or tails. All right.
All right.
Heads is Missouri. Tails is Penn State.
Sold.
It is heads.
All right.
Missouri gets the 9 spot. How funny.
Disagree, but respect how it was done.
Yeah, I will say it would be kind of funny if they were like, if the playoff commission was like, "Hey, we just flipped a coin."
You know,
Let
it seems like they might have. Like, my goodness. So at 10, we can put in our Penn State. I mean,
Yeah, I feel like okay, so let's who does Penn State? Okay, so it's Penn State at 10. I feel like
so because the other reason, I mean, and I'm done with this argument. Like, I just wanted to make my last little case here. The other thing for Penn State is they were dominant against bad teams, where Missouri wasn't. But cool. Penn State 10, Missouri 9.
now this is gonna be the interesting part. So we're now into the 11th seed, which all 3 of them has Mississippi at number 11.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. Like this was like middle of the season. I would have questioned it more. But like Oklahoma had some bad losses going down the stretch there. So Ole
Yeah,
Miss, you can stay there.
yeah. I mean, their only bad loss was against a Georgia team, and now we're gonna look at Oklahoma right now. So I think honestly they're an 8-2 team. Like I feel like I
Ten
would
and
not.
two.
Yeah, it's either that or and then below them is LSU. And I feel like for Oklahoma, you're at least 8-2. You're only 2 losses. So who did Oklahoma lose to? So they had a loss against Oklahoma State, which
Yeah.
yeah, kind of a little bit, and to be fair, they did beat Texas. That was their only, even though it sucks.
Yeah.
That
That was an epic game.
that was an epic game. I'm disappointed, and they lost to Kansas. That's an
Yeah.
ugly loss.
Yeah. I mean, all these teams at this point are gonna have some ugly losses.
Yeah.
All
So
right. Are we
I
good
feel
with Oklahoma there?
yeah, I think I'm good with Oklahoma right there. I don't think, I don't think we need to like put
All
Oklahoma
right.
down. Now
All right,
we're gonna
dude.
get
Here's where I want to get. Wait. I wanna throw a team in here before we just keep going down this list. How far up do we want to put Liberty? They're 13-0, and I believe that they are conference champs.
okay. So they are 23rd as of okay. We're just gonna put it. So
But yeah,
in the
I'm not necessarily just looking at the rankings here, though. I want to really think about these. I don't want to just follow, because it's boring if we just follow the normal rankings of what the college football world thinks. We're here for controversy, and this is a 13-0 conference champ, and we defend those.
Yeah. No, this is a good question because I kind of feel like Liberty. Okay, so who does Liberty beat? They beat a
Yeah,
Bowling Green. They beat a New Mexico State who's not good. A Buffalo team.
that New Mexico State team that, if we're playing process of elimination, for one, New Mexico State's 10-4. And remember, we talked about New Mexico State once today. Do you know who New Mexico State beat?
Oh.
Auburn. They won it at Auburn. So this team, if we're going to apply the same logic that we did to Alabama, then like this is a team. Well, they also beat, so I don't know. There's some good stuff here. So Liberty, I got off Liberty. Where'd you go, Liberty?
Technically, Liberty is ranked 23rd. Let me check. So,
Coach. We're not worried about that. Let's see who they beat.
Okay.
They beat New Mexico State. I mean, they're not going to have any really good wins. But, like, how did they look? They beat New Mexico State twice. They beat Bowling Green. They beat New Mexico. They beat Middle Tennessee State, who also played.
But then they barely beat like Sam Houston. They barely beat like MS. Let me see, like a 12-6 like MTSU, which I didn't even know that was a column.
That's all fair, but why are we just brushing off bad wins for like Missouri? But then this is a team that won 13-0. They won all their games. They won their conference championship. And I'm not saying to put them at 13. I'm just saying I want to talk about them before we get all the way down to 23 and we just kind of throw them in there.
Yeah, this is
looking at that team. Like, I think they would probably beat Iowa. Like a lot of teams could beat Iowa.
I think this could definitely beat Iowa, but this is gonna be a good one. I mean, I guess I would not put them in 13 to 15. Let's see when we get to.
I think they could potentially beat Louisville.
Yeah, but I'm just like, I think we have to think about it. I think
that's what I'm saying, but like I also don't want to just be like, they just keep dropping because, that's an undefeated conference champion we're talking about there. All right. But so anyway, 13 here.
So this is gonna be the good question right now. So we at the 13 right now, we have LSU and the same record, Arizona, 9-3.
Yeah.
So we got to look at their records right now. Who did they they lost to Florida State. They did lose to Florida State badly in the beginning of the season. They lost to Ole Miss. Okay, that's not a good win. And they lost to Alabama badly. Now, Arizona lost to a Mississippi State team.
In overtime. At Mississippi State.
Yeah. They lost to a Washington. They barely lost to Washington by a touchdown. That's at least impressive. I'll give them that.
That's a good loss.
That is a good loss. I'm like thinking about.
And they lost to USC in triple overtime.
Yeah, that's at least competitive. Now this is a good question. Should we bump Arizona up to that unlucky 13 and put LSU at 13? Because I'm feeling like the LSU losses. As of right now, they would lost to. So they lost to an Alabama team, which I would say Alabama's good, an Ole Miss team who's not even ranked, and a Florida State team.
Yeah, Ole Miss was ranked at the time, but I mean, I know but LSU did beat Mississippi State, so that if we go common opponents, LSU beat Mississippi State, I think like 1 week after Arizona lost to Mississippi State. So it's like if we just went off of common opponents, we would technically take LSU. But like I think just looking at overall quality, I prefer what Arizona did this year personally.
Yeah, I honestly feel like we need to put Arizona right here. I think Arizona's the 13. I do not.
Arizona.
Granted, I feel like we're in the point where I joked but I guess we should discuss this. I actually realized beforehand. This would be our theoretical 12-team playoff if this is for next year.
Yeah. That'd
Like,
be a
what?
real tough debate there for sure.
Now, do you think any of the? This is actually, we should ask this before we go. If this was the 12th,
Mm-hmm.
do you think anyone from 8 to 12 would win? I don't think Penn State would win. I don't think Ole Miss would win.
Against who? Well, who are they playing?
So we're gonna do it like what the NFL used to do. So like Florida State would play against Oklahoma, Georgia would play against Ole Miss, Ohio State would play against. Oh God, they have to play against Penn State again. They ain't gonna win that one.
I mean, I think Oklahoma, just given all the circumstances, would have a good chance at beating Florida State.
Oh yeah, because we're thinking like if they lost a quarterback, let's just say this is the week
Yeah,
they
like if
lost.
they were to genuinely play next week, I would probably take Oklahoma. I think all the other ones are pretty straightforward. I mean, Georgia, I think already beat Ole Miss. Ohio State already beat Penn State, and Oregon would beat Missouri.
Yeah, I feel like that this would be interesting. And then I guess we would. Ooh, but let's just say, I know we're going ahead of ourselves, but the top 4 beat the remaining of those top 8s. Like I said, I know we're thinking about it.
Well, Michigan already beat Ohio State.
Boo.
I think they would be. I mean, I think that they would. Well, I think Oregon would be a tough matchup
Play against
for me.
either Oregon or Missouri, right? I think they would probably take the Oregon or Missouri game.
Yeah, and that'd be a tough game. I mean, I think that they could beat Oregon, but Oregon's a hard team to play. All right,
Yeah,
we're getting too into matchups. That's the next video.
I know that's the next video. Sorry, I just had to think about it. So we
All right,
just
so LSU.
yeah, we're gonna put LSU at the number 14 seed right now. So this is the one thing we have changed right now. We flipped it.
Yep, we almost flipped the Missouri Penn State, but we've coin flipped it, and
Yes.
then we flipped this one. Let's see here. So our next big discussion here is Louisville or Notre Dame.
And this is going to be interesting because both of them. So the AP, the college football playoff, has Louisville ahead of Notre Dame.
Well, so here's the thing: Louisville won the head-to-head, so I think this one's super straightforward.
Yeah, honestly, if they won the head-to-head on that one, you got to put Louisville above Notre Dame.
All right, Louisville, you did it.
Woohoo!
I can't spell. How do I spell Louis?
It's like L-O. It's L-O-U-I-S.
ACC. Oh, gosh, I need to learn to type.
My goodness.
Large. And then we have Notre Dame at 16.
Yes. Now this is gonna be interesting. So who did they lose to? So they lost to a Pitt team. They beat Duke.
I mean, they lost to Ohio State, Louisville, and Pitt, it sounds like.
Yeah, and then they lost to Kentucky. So yeah, that's kind of a weird, wonky loss right there.
All right, so here's where I want to talk about Liberty again.
Oh,
I said Liberty. I think it could beat Iowa. Let's see what the other rankings have too, because you had mentioned, Stu, looking at all the rankings. So the AP has Liberty at 18, and the coaches have them at 20.
yeah, and I will say, and maybe we can put this as the head-to-head right now, because this is a good one. Okay, we can have the 3 head-to-head right now. Let's just do three head-to-head, because the next one, so the playoffs. Okay, we got to think about this. So we got we'll do the 3 head-to-head. The coaches one has Iowa at 17. The AP has SMU at 17. And I guess I would say they put Iowa also at 17. So I guess we can put those 3 teams. We just got to think about it.
Well, so do you have a dice by chance?
Oh, shit. I think I might have. It's in my...
Okay. I mean, if you do, cool. If not, that's okay. But I was thinking we could roll a dice for the next 3 with Liberty, did we say SMU?
Yeah, but maybe we should look at let's just, before we start, we've got to see what their losses were.
Well, so I'll make it easy for you. Liberty doesn't have any, Stu.
Yes. But I guess we should.
No conference champ.
Yes. So we have SMU. So who did SMU? They lost to TCU, which that does not look good. That's
No, it's
not
not a good loss.
that is not a good loss. Who did they lose to? They lost to.
They lost to Oklahoma.
Yeah, also okay. That's at least a good, and they didn't lose them that badly. So that's at least a good. You know what? I'll
It
give
looks
them.
like SMU upset Tulane for the conference championship too.
Yeah,
So
that's a good.
SMU is going to be a conference champion when they're in here.
Yeah, so we got the conference champion for SMU,
So I mean, that's overall a solid resume.
which is a fun fact. I didn't realize this year. I was actually watching a video about the death penalty. This is kind of funny, random tangent. There's this one YouTuber, 5,000 subscribers. I should send you the link. He's an amazing YouTuber, underrated, right? And he's just talking about college football, and he talked about the history of like why SMU got the death penalty and like all their problems. And interestingly, I didn't realize this is the first time this year since 1986, the year when they got the death penalty, that they've been top 25. SMU.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that is a crazy stat.
That's a good tidbit. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that fact, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
right.
I did not realize on that. And like I said,
very cool. Well, good for them. They're coming back. So they'll definitely make it. It's just where. So, I mean, this is where I start to get biased because I would rather put these two conference champions over Iowa. Like, I've seen enough Iowa to know that a lot of teams with a decent offense could beat them. Like, their games are just terrible to watch. Like, I think it should go coin flip between SMU and Liberty and then Iowa down at 19, personally.
Yeah, I feel like as of right now, I mean, Iowa, the only problem is Iowa lost really badly against like a Penn State badly by 31 points, and they lost to Michigan by 31 points. So honestly,
I mean, and they lost at home against Minnesota, who had a bad season.
Who had a bad season.
Like, we were impressed with SMU's losses. Liberty doesn't have any losses. Both of those sound better to me than Iowa, that had like literally the worst offense in the country.
Yeah, like literally, this is what happened
with SMU and Liberty. Do you want to flip a coin, or do you have a preference?
All right, so let's maybe discuss on those. So SMU, like I said, we'll put Iowa down. I do agree. I think probably put Iowa down.
Iowa's going down at 19. We'll keep it easy.
Yeah, we'll keep it easy. We're gonna put Iowa. Sorry, Iowa.
Sorry.
Now, SMU got it. They beat the Tulane. They won the conference championship. That's the first one. That Big Ten at large loss. I think I love that. You got to put that as like a loss. So the only loss that SMU had was an Oklahoma team, but it's not by that much. It's only by like, I'm trying to think.
It's still by 17.
17 points. Not decisive. Okay, it's not bad, but it's not decisive. You didn't get blown out. You weren't like blown out. So that's at least a good on college. I will say this: college football, if you get blown out by 30, then that's like a really bad game.
Well, they lost their two arguable biggest games of the year by 17.
Yeah.
So let's see. Did Liberty have any wins that were like mildly impressed with?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no wins that are jumping off the table here. I
mean, they barely beat a Sam Houston team. I mean, that's the only problem because it's like, do you barely beat these? I feel like it's not like. I can kind of understand why they put Liberty in this ranking. Like, I know they're 13-0, but like I said, they're not dominating 13-0. This wasn't like Yeah, this is not like Cincinnati a couple years ago where they're like, damn, this team has been dominating like all these other teams, and I'm not gonna like, and we had to put our hand force them. Like, you're not gonna put a 2-0, a 0-2 versus an undefeated Cincinnati.
Agreed. I mean, for me, I still would put Liberty over SMU.
Maybe I'm putting Texas bias. I think I would put SMU over Liberty.
That's what I was about to say. I think this is going to a coin flip.
Let's do it. All right. Do you want to have? Okay, we're gonna make it. Okay. All right, we're gonna put heads for SMU. We're gonna put tails. I want to make sure.
Tails for Liberty.
All right, where do you want me to start? With the heads or the tails? This is going to be the fun part.
No preference.
All right, we're going to start with the tails. Let's see how this goes. It's tails. Liberty's going up. Let's go.
All right, Liberty Bibbity.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
What's the name of their conference? American. I don't even know what their conference is called.
Right.
They
Oh yeah.
they were in the
Oh,
American.
oh yeah. They're the American USA Conference. You know, I just realized Liberty is the religious school, right?
So are they Conference USA or is that something else?
Yeah,
don't
I
know
think
what you-
they're Conference USA champs.
What-
So
Or are they American?
no, they're Conference USA.
Okay, so they're Conference USA.
And also, I didn't realize. So, fun fact: if you're like an evangelical, this is the Jerry Falwell's university that he got. So this is kind of funny if you know like the evangelical kind of like history. Yeah. So Liberty University is that, but they also have a good basketball team. So
Nice. And then what conference is
yeah, that's a good question. What is SMU's conference? I felt bad because my stepfather Pat was the Atlantic Mid American Atlantic Conference.
Oh, okay, so they're the American.
Yeah.
All
Is that
right.
the
So
Mid
this
Atlantic
is
Conference? Is that what
America. What's
is
up?
that what it's called? Mid Atlantic Conference?
I mean, that's the MAC.
Oh, I'm thinking something else. Sorry.
And then this is the let me look at what they no American Athletic Championship. So they're the AAC.
Uh,
So we got AAC champ. That's when, I don't know. I love college football. Need to get more into these teams because they're fun.
yeah, I should get more into these teams. I mean, that's probably the hard part about this is like I don't like we only know about the big Power Five, and unless it's like a Cincinnati where they have like a crazy good season, you're not going to talk about Liberty or watch SMU games or any of these games. This is like these are like the oh, that's on my cable just so I can do something in the noise background.
Well, exactly. I mean, these are games sometimes but they're entertaining games sometimes. And like maybe if this, YouTube stuff goes somewhere, we can spend more time watching these videos.
Yeah, we can definitely I definitely need to get better on my thing. So now we're in the creme de la creme of teams.
The what?
The creme de la creme of like
Yeah.
the teams that are like, my God, why are you picking these teams? So
All right.
so I guess we got so we already have Notre Dame in there, yes. So I guess the next one. Now this is a good question. Should we put No, this is a good question. Should we put Iowa or North Carolina State University?
Well, let's take a look at North Carolina State
They
because
did lose to Louisville. So the games they lost, a Louisville team, a Duke team, and that's their only two losses, basically.
they
They
have 3 losses and they lost. Who else
Who
did
did
they
they
lose to?
Oh, they lost to Notre Dame decisively by 20 points.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would somehow oddly take Iowa. Like they had some okay wins, but like I think if you'd put the two of them together, I don't know. I mean, they have a better offense but worse defense, so it's kind of like another. You're really flipping coins here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like that this is like at the point where it's like we're in the point of no return, where it's like North Carolina State's like the only like 9-10 left. That's like
I was
in the
gonna say, I mean, I think just by process of less losses, I think they just have to go there.
yeah.
So we're cool with that at 20, North Carolina State.
Yeah, North Carolina State, congratulations. You made it to 20th. Now you're going to play against who they have to play against. This is the fun part.
Oh gosh.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it'd be like these two would play against each other. SMU would play against Louisville. LSU would play against Iowa. Oh, they play against Arizona. Okay, that might be a good game.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting game. I mean, I would definitely. Arizona's like the hottest team, but heck yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I feel like there's some of these middle lane. Like I feel like if this did happen, I feel like these middle teams, I'd be like, I would be interested in who would win in these ones.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to win a football game, as they say in Iowa.
Yes. Now we're going to go into the creme de la creme. Now we're going into the 4 losses teams. Oh my God.
Well, and let's not forget though. Let's also pull up our other conference champs here. Who else do we have as conference champs?
Yeah.
because we still have not had. Let's see here. The MAC and the Mountain West are not represented.
So that's the only two that are left.
Yep. So we got Miami of Ohio. I think that's the only two left. Let's see here. So we need. Well, no, we need the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, and the MAC. It looks like.
Okay, let's just say, are any of those teams in the top 25?
It's not looking like it.
All right. So,
The Sun Belt champion. Oh, no.
no, American Atlantic Conference. Yeah, champions. No, actually, no. That's actually not
The
true.
Sun Belt has James Madison. James
Oh.
Madison had a nice 11 in 1 year.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good question.
So,
Oh my god.
James Madison. Well, let's make sure I'm pretty sure James Madison won the Sun Belt here.
Yes.
Let's just double check though. Where
yeah.
you at, James Madison?
Oh, they did not win the Sun Belt.
Oh, so they might be. Ooh, that'd be an interesting. Who ended up winning that conference?
That's a good question. Who won was it Troy? Or
Yeah,
did they
Troy.
or did they not do it? I don't think they did have anything. Are they that irrelevant that they didn't give them a conference?
Wait, where is James Madison? I'm seeing things here. I apologize. I thought that they were in that conference.
They're in that conference in the Sun Belt, but I guess, you know what?
Did we miss a story here? Man, we are not.
Did they not do a championship? Is there no? Are we having a conspiracy right now?
Oh, do you know what it is, Stu? Because I'm pretty sure James Madison was suspended from their bowl game. Oh. James Madison can qualify. Yeah.
Oh my God! What happened? Controversy, right?
Let me read you the story from the Sporting News. James Madison has been a football powerhouse in the FCS. Then after 2021, they moved up to the FBS and joined the Sun Belt.
Okay.
They went 8-3, started 10-0. They got College Game Day to come. So cool. That's all good. So why did they get suspended though?
What is the?
Particularly in a down year, would normally appear James Madison would not only be on track for a conference, but a stand-up bowl game. They're ineligible for the conference championship and any bowl game.
Why?
But the NCAA denied their postseason waiver. But why were they suspended?
Suspended.
Huh. Yeah, I remember seeing this, but I don't remember why.
And let me look.
Why can't you qualify?
Why are they devastated? Okay, let me check. Washington Post. Let me look at that.
Yeah.
Consider all legal options. However, send less qualified because.
I guess they did make a bowl game though.
Okay, so this is a good question. Shit. So they got suspended from going. Why did they get suspended for?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what did they do? For bowl.
Oh,
yeah.
I guess they moved. I guess because they moved.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, nobody's giving a clear answer here. Yeah.
Like, give me is this like, let me check. Give me ESPN. This is a good. We have now hit the breaking news that are happening now. Why is James Madison?
Stu, I apologize, but I got to go help Andrea. Can you look into this story for me while I got to go get her nice pack for her ankle? I will be right back.
All right, I'll be like here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to try to figure out what is happening right now. Why did James Madison? I would love to know in the chat. Like, this is a good, we might have to go into conspiracy. Like, why is James Madison? Like, why is James Madison? This is the fun part. This is the fun part. We're trying to we are looking at the. I think we might have to look at the. Why did James Madison suspension? It's the fun part. I know.
You can feel it.
This is the fun part. We are now into looking here to figure out why. This is the fun part. Yes.
Okay. Give me like 10, 15 minutes. All right, I'm back.
All right. So I don't think so they got suspended, but I think it was because they were like in the transition from the double NCAA to the NCAA. So that's why.
Okay, kind of lame, but fair enough.
Like
But I
that's
guess-
kind of lame. That's the lamest way to get suspended. I'm sorry, NCAA. There wasn't like some huge controversy. I mean, granted, I just heard of this right now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's lame if you're James Madison. I'm sorry. Like you couldn't play against Duke.
That is lame.
Like
All right, so they unfortunately are in the AP top 25, but they will not be making an appearance here. Well, let's
wow.
include them. Let's include them, Stu. They made a bowl game.
Hey, they made a bowl game, so let's put James Madison. So let's see. In the theoretical. So this is a good question. So for James Madison, where did we put James Madison? Oh my God, I just
Well, their only loss is to Appalachian State in overtime. Like I feel like they're the 21 for me at least.
yeah. The only thing is, okay, so who's also in 21? Are they worse or better than Oregon State?
I mean, I think they're probably a better team I don't know.
I mean, they did
It
lose
gets
to
really hard at this point. I mean, I kind of prefer the wins. I mean, this is a team that won at Virginia, which is a really, a Power 5 win. Their only loss was against, pretty solid Appalachian State team. They got College Game Day to come to their school this year. I don't think, did College Game Day go to Oregon State? I don't remember.
No, probably. Well, no, because they played against Oregon, and also they had the college game probably at Ohio State. Let's be honest, that college game is going to be at Ohio State. Like, come on. But let's put Oregon State. Let's just think about it. So Oregon State's loss is against Washington State. Still say decent, good team. Did beat Utah. Did beat UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
They Was that the game where they came back against Colorado and then Colorado choked it away?
No, that was against Stanford.
Oh my God, they did.
Oh yeah, I mean they beat Utah. Yeah, I'm fine with Oregon State at 21.
Yeah, and also they lost by 2 against Washington, so that's at least a good. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's put Oregon State right there.
Oregon State, and then James Madison at the next one.
Oh no, that's a good question. Should we put Oklahoma State?
Well, let's look at them.
All right, so Oklahoma State. They lost to Southern. Oh yeah, they lost to Southern Alabama. Okay, that's enough. I don't like. Yeah, I don't like that.
For you, James Madison, and James Madison is out of what did we say? The American.
Yeah, I think they're in like the Duke conference.
Yeah, what's the name of that conference? They're in the Sun Belt. So we got a Sun Belt at large team. How cool is this?
So who won the Sun Belt conference? Oh, Troy did. okay, so Troy technically got in the conference. So
Yeah,
we
so-
will have,
They didn't play each other either, did they? How unfortunate.
yeah. So that's the weird part about this. We're gonna
Well,
put
let's
Troy in the
Let's
conference.
maybe put Troy at 23.
Oh no, you know what? So for 23, we got Oklahoma State. No, we got Oklahoma State and we got Tulane. For me, okay, so Oklahoma State, who's their losses? They lost to Southern Alabama team. Did they lose? I'm gonna see what was their record. Southern Alabama was. They did make a bowl game. They did make a bowl game. Okay, so Southern Alabama did make a bowl game, but that's not the best. You did lose to Iowa State. You did. You did lose
Mhm.
to. No, they did beat Oklahoma. To be fair, they did beat a good Oklahoma team.
Who is this? Oklahoma State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't think I would put Troy over Oklahoma State.
Okay. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So we'll go Oklahoma State.
And now we're in the weird part where we're in like
Did they make who did Texas beat in the Big 12 championship?
Oklahoma State.
Did they? Okay, so this is our Big 12 at large or at
Yeah.
loss. And then we want to go Troy at 24.
No, this is a good question. Should we put Tulane or Troy?
Did Tulane win their conference?
They did lose to SMU. So their only losses right now is to SMU, and then they lost to Old Miss by about like 17 points.
Okay, so that's a pretty good resume. That's a pretty good resume.
Yeah. Like I honestly would say you gotta put like in my opinion, you gotta put Tulane over like Troy.
Yeah, I think I think so. So we'll go Tulane at 24. Or that's what we're saying. We think Tulane's next.
Yeah, Tulane is next at 24. And then now we're getting into the wonky. What do we put
Tulane,
in?
what conference are they in?
They're in the SMU conference. They're in the American
The
uh
AAC.
yeah, the AAC conference. Now-
AAC. Are they
Now-
at large, or did they lose to SMU in the championship?
They lost. They lost. They
So
lost
we'll
to SMU.
go- All right,
Yeah.
so they're at loss. All right, so at 25 now, do we have? We still have
So-
to put Troy in here somewhere.
So the good question is, so in the 25, we have Kansas State. Put them in the 25th in the college football playoff rankings. And we have Clemson. So we have
Also, I
Clemson,
think
we got
so. I will
Clemson.
say I think Kansas State beat Troy head to head.
Yes.
So let me look at
Yeah.
that one though, because I'm pretty sure they beat Troy. But Kansas State isn't ranked. Where's Kansas State at?
Now this is a good question, in my opinion. Do we put Tennessee above them? Because I feel like you have to have Tennessee.
I mean, we have to have Tennessee. We still have 7, 8 more spots though, so we're not
Yes.
panicking here. We're not panicking.
All right. So I
But
feel
we
like
got
there's like 3 teams that we can probably put in there. So that's in the 25th spot. Tennessee, Clemson, Kansas State.
well, we still haven't put Troy anywhere.
Yeah, but I feel okay. Let's
What
look
was
at
Troy's record?
Troy's
Where were-
record let me just Troy's record. Let me look right here. What was Troy's record? So
Well,
Troy
wait. So Troy's right there. So all of these have
Oh wait, they did play against James Madison. They lost to them.
who did Kansas State?
No, James Madison did play against Troy and they did lose to them. Actually, fun fact.
James Madison lost to Troy.
No, they beat Troy by 2.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So
So that
Troy
makes
lost-
sense. So like Troy below them. So I mean, everyone that I'm seeing has Tennessee the highest, Clemson next. So I mean, I think we should keep this easy. We should go Tennessee, Clemson, Kansas State, then Troy.
But to be fair, Kansas State did play against Troy, and Kansas State did beat Troy.
Well, that's what I
So-
just said. Like Kansas State, then Troy. So like I'm saying Tennessee. Everyone has Tennessee ranked higher. I mean, when you get to this point, I don't think like everyone has Tennessee higher. Then we have
are we at
Clemson
the
the
point
next.
where- you know, I think I realized. Are we at the point where we're like arguing like this team should be the 60th basketball team? No,
I
it's
mean, that's what
both.
I'm saying. Like I think at this point we just have to follow our 3 rankings that we're looking at. And I mean, I think all three of them agree that Tennessee is better than Clemson, and then Clemson is better than Kansas State.
Yeah, I
Like if
think.
they're all in consensus, I don't think who are we to argue that?
Yeah, I think Tennessee goes there. I think we put.
SEC at large.
I think we
Apparently,
put.
it's spelled Tennessee right, and then we'll go Clemson, which we got in ACC at large. Why can't I spell? So we got that, and then we have Kansas State. Kansas State, which will then be our another Big 12 at large. Did we ever put Iowa in here?
Yes, we did put Iowa. We put Iowa at 19.
Okay, good. And then I think Troy at 28, right?
Now, that's a good question. We're going to now look at the teams. So Troy is, yeah, we'll put Troy at 20 we'll put Troy right there.
And then what conference did they win?
They won what was the conference? It was the Sun Belt Conference.
They won the Sun Belt?
Yes.
All right.
Now, this is going to be the good question. We are now heading into the nadir of this one. So
Yep.
who is that's left in the conference champions?
So I think all that we need, so we need Mountain West. Did we put Mountain West in here? Which I think might be a Boise State. So I think let's see here, where'd it go? So yeah, so we still need Boise State in here somewhere. We need Miami of Ohio, I believe. Is that what you said? Yeah. Miami of Ohio. We maybe could even make a case for Toledo being in at 11-2 as well, because they're the MAC runner-up and they had a really nice season. It looks like 11-2. Like one of their losses was to Illinois by 2 points, and the other one was, who else did they lose to? Yeah, they only lost to the MAC champs and to Illinois. So, I mean, Toledo had a nice season, but we need Boise State and Miami of Ohio in.
So we just need Boise State and Miami of Ohio. So those are the only two. So we have 2 slots.
Yeah, 2 slots. I think that should be it.
Now,
everyone else to count for.
And now this is going to be the interesting part. So we already put Clemson in there. So so the teams that received votes in the AP. So we already put Clemson in there. Troy's already in there. Utah.
Yeah, Utah.
We already have Kansas State. Kansas, Kentucky for the AP. So we got our 4 teams right there. They're in the AP.
So we also have Toledo getting in there for votes for both too.
Yes. So we got
let's
Toledo.
not completely discount Toledo yet.
So we got, I'm trying to look, Utah. So West Virginia, San Jose State, and New Mexico State. So we have those 5 teams.
All right. Well, let's put Boise State at 32.
Yeah, I think Boise State's the lowest at 32 because they did not like. So who did Boise State beat or lose to? That's a good question.
I don't even know because they're not really on anything here. So
let me check. I just want to make sure just to be fair to the Boise State. This is basketball. Boise State football. So the Boise State team, they have only lost, which is crazy. It wasn't like 10, 15 years ago. They were like number 3 in the nation at one point.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun back then.
So they lost badly to Washington. They lost to UCF. They lost to Memphis. Yeah, these are Colorado State, Fresno State. So what is their record? I'm just looking curiosity. So Boise State was an 8-5. It is crazy that an 8-5.
All right, Stu. So I think I've got at least what I think the last 3 of the last 4 should be here. Okay. So based on looking through these rankings, I think Utah should get in probably at 29.
All right. Now I want to look at Utah's record. I just kind of want to look at Utah.
Yeah.
Utah.
They had a nice season.
So for the
how good was Utah?
So Utah, okay, who did they lose to? They lost to Oregon State. They lost to Oregon badly.
Mhm.
They did lose to Washington, but not that bad. And then they did get killed by Arizona. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I mean, they have some nice wins. They didn't beat anybody, but I mean, they beat USC at USC. I mean, everybody has Utah ranked pretty highly up there. Like everybody agrees it looks like that Utah is right around that like cusp team. So it comes down to Utah, Kansas, and Toledo for 2 spots.
Yeah. Now this is gonna be a good question. So where do we put Miami, Ohio? That's a good question. We got to put where is Miami, which is crazy because
Yeah, I mean,
the only Miami team is gonna make it in this tournament is a
I
Miami.
think
Ohio.
Miami of Ohio. I think that they should be at 29. Well,
Yeah.
that's hard because like it depends on who else we put in. Like everybody has Utah higher than Miami of Ohio,
So
so it
let's
should
look at
almost go 29 Utah, Miami of Ohio, and then I think we go down to a coin flip between Kansas and Toledo.
now. Okay, so let's put those two in there. I
So
agree
Utah,
because they did win some Power Five teams. Even though they got bumped out, they did beat Power Five, like top 25 teams. That's at least a good like versus Miami did not. But I mean, granted,
Miami of Ohio. We got our MAC champ. So
Yep.
now here's the big question: do we put a second MAC team or do we put Kansas in there?
now so this is just Kansas. Okay, just Kansas State or Kansas. I'm sorry, I just want to make
This one
sure.
would be just Kansas. We already have Kansas State in here.
All right, so
So
let's just look at their losses. I think the first we got to think about it. So they did lose to Texas badly. They
mhm.
did lose to Oklahoma State kind of badly. They did beat Oklahoma. That's the one thing I will say. That is at
Yeah,
least that is a good, and that was in like sort of like the mid end of the season. This wasn't
what was
like
their record? What was
their record
Kansas's record?
is 8-4. So I will at least give you now. Where does Toledo? So that's at least the one thing that actually I will say because Oklahoma is where is Oklahoma? Is at 12. That's at least a good like. I will at least give them some credit on that one. So then the Toledo Rockets.
Hmm. Yeah, they were.
Unfortunately, they did not play against any. They lost to a They lost to an Illinois team who's not that
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Um, they lost to who did they lose to? They
And then
lost to
just Miami of Ohio in the championship.
yeah. So that's their only.
I
So
mean, I guess if I think about these two teams playing, I think Kansas would win that game. So I don't
yeah,
really want to get like too into it. Like I think Kansas is the better team.
yeah. I think honestly,
Sorry, Toledo. Tried to get my sister's school in, couldn't do it.
you should have beat Miami. I'm sorry, you choked that game. I'm sorry.
Yep, they should have won. All right, cool. Well, that's
Look at
exciting.
that.
Here we got.
Look at this. Look at this beautiful 32 team theoretical tournament. How do you feel about all these matchups right now? We've no disagreement
Um,
whatsoever.
I think we should be up for votes to be a part of the actual CFP still. I think this was great. I think we crushed it. I can't wait to get into the matchups and see who would win our fictitious tournament.
Now, would be okay. This is what I would say if I did the fictitious. If I was God, Emperor of NCAA sports, I
Hmm.
first would make a 32 team. And here's what I would do secondly. The 1 through 16 gets the home field advantage. Well, what do
Cool.
you think about that? Michigan gets a home field no matter what since they're the number 1 seed.
It'd be cold. You know, the big house is a wide open stadium in December and January would be kind of sucky for anybody to come into that environment. Michigan's built for it, so I think it'd be a huge advantage if you bring up like Texas into Ann Arbor in January. Good luck, Quinn Ewers. JJ's practicing in that. You're down there practicing in, probably a dome in Austin. So I think it's a huge advantage for Michigan to be so far north. Washington probably too. You know, And obviously, Texas and Alabama have two of the best stadiums in college football. You know, who wants to go and who can reasonably go into either of those stadiums and win? You know, same with Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon. Very few teams in the country are going to beat those teams, yet alone beat them at their own building. So, I do apologize, but I gotta head out still. I got to go help Andrea. We got some dinner to cook, but I look forward to actually going through these matchups and coming up with a winner in our scenario. Oh, I lost you right at the end. That was incredible. I've waited till we were done.
We're done. All right. So, like I said, for next week, let's just say this is our game plan. We're going to do our theoretical matchups. Who would win in these matchups right now? Who would
I
we
look forward
put?
to it.
Who would we put? Will we have any upsets? That will be the good question. Will there be a pick of an upset right there?
I'm sure there will be. I hope there is. If we just go based on the rankings, that'd be
Oh, yeah.
boring. We got to
My-
look
my-
at the matchups. So, but I'm gonna skedaddle.
All right. Like I said, we will do our power rank, our tier maker next Tuesday. And like I said, I will catch you later, Mr. Gators.
Hasta la vista.
Alrighty, we'll see how it goes. Bye bye.